So the Dallas Cowboys are experiencing a pretty odd situation with one key player for the second offseason in a row, will soon owe another a ton of money, and they have an entire position group going through it right now from an injury perspective. This is just a few of the warning signs popping up for a team that finished 7-10 last year, and I can't lie, it's pretty concerning, especially considering who their owner is. So I've got to talk about that, the Steelers needing to pay their star player, an intriguing free agent visiting the Broncos, and more right after. Alright, first up, it looks like the Steelers and TJ Watt may finally be nearing a contract extension. According to Steelers reporter Mark Kaboly, Pittsburgh has a, quote, pretty substantial offer out to Watt, though the details of said offer are currently unknown. Well, it must not be enough, because Kaboly went on to say that it's probably not what Watt is looking for in his next deal. Then Jerry Dulac, who also covers the Steelers, backed up that report, saying that both sides have been discussing a new contract. He seemed optimistic that a deal will get done soonish, though, adding that the expectation is for some kind of agreement to be reached before the start of the regular season. Does that mean Watt's willing to miss training camp? Hard to know for sure right now. He hasn't been at OTAs, but those are voluntary, so the pressure will really start being turned up if he's not there for mandatory minicamp next week. And while it's been known for a while now that Watt is looking for an extension, Jerry Dulac believes two specific things that happened in the offseason are causing Watt's price tag to go up. The first is Myles Garrett getting his new contract. He signed a new deal with the Browns that pays him $40 million per year, by far the most of any defender in NFL history. I'm sure TJ Watt saw that and feels like, yeah, he should be very close to that number himself. A concern that's been brought up in regards to TJ is his age. He'll be 31 in October, but Myles Garrett will be 30 in December, so he's only a year younger, and he's under contract through 2030. Putting age aside, if you're going off of past production, you could make the case TJ has the edge here. Since coming into the NFL in 2017, Watt has 108 sacks, the most in the league in that time span. He also has the most forced fumbles by far since then, and he even tied Michael Strahan's single-season sack record in 2021. After missing 7 games with a pec injury in 2022, Watt hasn't missed a regular season game since then. He only finished with 11.5 sacks last year. That's still pretty awesome, all things considered. It's just a bit subpar by his own standards. On top of that, though, he had 6 forced fumbles, which was the most in the entire league, so sacks obviously aren't everything here. And while Myles Garrett got an absolute bag, he wasn't the only one. Danielle Hunter and Max Crosby both signed extensions that put them in the top 3 highest paid edge rushers, right behind Garrett. In fact, TJ is now the 7th highest paid edge rusher in terms of annual salary, which is obviously way too low. I will say those aren't the best comparisons. Max Crosby is 27 years old and Danielle Hunter only signed a 1-year extension. Myles Garrett is really the only one you can compare Watt to here, since he and TJ are both very close in age, have had similar levels of production, and even play in the same division, for what that's worth. This is a side note, but this is why Bengals pass rusher Trey Hendrickson is so frustrated. He's watching all these guys get massive paydays, with Watt most likely soon to follow, and since he doesn't seem willing to play ball here, despite Hendrickson having back-to-back seasons of 17.5 sacks. It's pretty sad, to be honest, but I digress. Aside from the Myles Garrett deal, DK Metcalf's new contract with the team could be another reason for Watt's price to go up. After trading for him in March, they wasted no time in signing him to a massive 4-year, $132 million extension. Now, obviously, DK is much younger. He's 27 years old and more in the middle of his prime, as opposed to TJ, who's likely closer to the end, and they obviously play on different sides of the field. But still, from TJ's perspective, you could easily look at it and feel a bit disrespected, like they just made this guy one of the highest paid receivers in the league when he hasn't even played a single snap as a Steeler. So TJ's probably thinking, well, I've been here for almost a decade, I've shattered the franchise sack record and been the face of the org since Big Ben retired. Well, that's why I hope the Steelers do the right thing here and pay Watt what he deserves, and it sounds like that new contract should be on the way pretty soon. Another edge rusher who's looking for an extension is Micaah Parsons. He and the Cowboys have reportedly been in contract talks all offseason, and Calvin Watkins of Dallas Morning News reported back in March that he's seeking more than both Myles Garrett and Jamar Chase, which means he wants over $40 million per year on average and to become the highest paid non-quarterback the league has ever seen. It's hard to argue that he doesn't deserve that when you consider the fact that Micah's only 26 years old and when you look at his production. 52.5 sacks in his first 4 seasons, including last year when he somehow finished with 12 despite missing 4 games with an ankle injury. Well, while in the midst of contract negotiations, some Cowboys fans were starting to get a bit nervous after Micah didn't show up for voluntary OTAs, but they have no need to panic because not only did Brian Schottenheimer say he expects Micah to be at mandatory minicamp, Micah himself also confirmed this. He posted on X saying, "I will be there. I haven't missed a minicamp in 4 years. Even though the contract is not done, I have teammates and a playbook. I'm preparing as if I will be on the field the first week of camp, but it's in the owner's hands. I'm ready to win a Super Bowl." You hear that, Jerry? It's all in your hands, bud. Okay, maybe Cowboys fans should be a bit nervous here because those are some scary hands to be in. Jokes aside, I'm very curious to see how Jerry balances having Dak Prescott making $60 million a year, CD making $34 million a year, and Micaah Parsons making what we assume will be around or maybe even more than $40 a year. That's $134 million combined in almost half of this year's $279 million salary cap. Obviously, the cap will continue to rise year after year, but still, that is a lot of money being tied up in just 3 players, so we'll see how that all works out for them. Another Cowboys player who has yet to show up to OTAs is cornerback Trevon Diggs. He tore his ACL in his left knee early in the 2023 season, then came back in 2024, but had what was described as a cartilage injury in that same knee and wound up on IR for the last 6 games of the season. He ended up having surgery in the offseason, so this is now the 2nd year in a row that he's been rehabbing a pretty major injury on that left knee. He's been doing his rehab down in Miami, but has yet to show up to any of the team's offseason programs, including OTAs. The reason that is a bit significant is because his contract states he has to participate in over 84.375% of the offseason program, or else his pay for the season could be cut by $500,000. And yes, OTAs are voluntary, but apparently the Cowboys have been putting clauses like this in their bigger contracts for years, as it basically ensures participation from your top players in the offseason. And even though Diggs is recovering from an injury, the contract says he, quote, must rehabilitate such injury as required by and under the supervision of the club's head trainer until such time as full participation in the offseason program can be achieved. The Cowboys, though, can opt to not enforce the clause even if the requirement isn't met, as long as there's some kind of a mutual understanding of the situation. Well, Executive Vice President Stephen Jones said that Diggs is being diligent in his rehab, but made it known that he would prefer Diggs to be at the facility. He said he expects him to be there next week for minicamp, though, and I think that will really be the true test of where things are between Diggs and the team. I mean, he's under contract for multiple more years, so I don't really know why he would not show up, but it's worth noting that there were reports last year about how the Cowboys weren't happy with the way Diggs attacked his rehab process when coming back from the ACL tear in 2023. They even suggested that him missing time at the team facility last offseason could have made him more subjected to re-injuring his knee. I feel like we're stuck in a bit of a time loop here once again this offseason with Diggs and the Cowboys. And while Jerry Jones has been on record saying he believes Diggs is working harder this time around, the team has made it known they prefer he be at the facility. It's all a pretty strange ordeal, and it will get even stranger if he's not there for minicamp. It's safe to say it's been a very rocky last couple of years, which is unfortunate because Diggs just inked a 5-year, $97 million extension before the 2023 season. But honestly, that's probably part of the reason why he might not care at all about losing out on $500,000, because that's not much in the grand scheme of things compared to his contract that included $33 million guaranteed at signing and $42.3 million total in guarantees. Honestly, it gets crazier for Dallas because the Cowboys have some serious questions in their cornerback room right now, Trevon Diggs aside. They do have Deron Bland still, and he's healthy after missing the first 10 games of last season with a foot injury, but they lost their starting nickel corner, Jordan Lewis, in free agency. Then they did take Siobhan Revel Jr. in the 3rd round, but he is coming back from an ACL tear he suffered last year in college and may not be ready for training camp. He's trending to be close to ready, but that's still roughly 6 weeks out, so we'll see how that goes. On top of that, their 4th round pick from the 2024 NFL draft, Kalen Carson, is working back from a shoulder surgery he had this offseason, though per recent reports, he's looking pretty good to go from that and should be fine come training camp. However, they have another corner in Josh Butler, also recovering from an ACL tear he sustained signed on Thanksgiving. They do have Kyer Elam and Andrew Booth Jr., but both are highly unproven and haven't lived up to how high they were drafted. My point is, their cornerback room is looking very shaky right now with all these injuries. They ranked 18th in passing yards allowed last season, and by all accounts, they got worse this year. We won't know for sure until the season plays out, of course, but as of right now, things are not looking great in that Dallas secondary that also features one of their safeties coming back from injury as well. Marquise Bell is who I'm talking about, a guy who suffered a dislocated shoulder during a kickoff last November. To be fair, he is primarily a special teamer, but he joins the long list of many in the secondary trying to work back from injury, and hopefully they can get right here sooner rather than later. Next up, one of the best available remaining free agent running backs, J.K. Dobbins, is visiting with the Denver Broncos tomorrow, where he will check out the team facility and reportedly have dinner with some of the coaches. Dobbins is coming off a solid season with the Chargers, a career year in fact, where he rushed for a little over 900 yards and 9 touchdowns in just 13 games. That's the most games he's played in, by the way, since his rookie year way back in 2020, and actually the most yards he's had in a season in his career. He's battled through a ton of injuries. He missed all of 2021 with an ACL tear, then tore his Achilles in the first game of the 2023 season and missed that entire year as well. And those are just some of the major ones. There's a handful of more minor ones throughout his career as well, including an MCL sprain that had him on IR for 4 games last season. In spite of that, he's still only 26 years old, and I don't think Denver would be leaning on him as heavily as the Chargers did last season. It was basically just him and Gus Edwards last year as the workhorses, with Dobbins taking a majority of the carries, 94 more of them to be exact. Meanwhile, the Broncos have Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, and RJ Harvey, who they just drafted in the second round. So adding Dobbins as a rotational back seems pretty ideal. He'd have less wear and tear on his body while still providing the offense with some juice from time to time. Whether or not it's with Denver, I'll be curious to see what kind of contract he pulls off wherever he does end up signing. SpotTrack, for what this is worth, has it projected as a 2-year, $8.2 million deal, so a little over $4 million a year. Well, that's definitely better than the $1.6 million he got last year from the Chargers, though to be fair, he barely played in 2023, yet is coming off a career year last year, so it would be a well-deserved payday. And the Broncos honestly have a pretty cheap running back room from a salary cap perspective. Make sure to let me know your thoughts on the Cowboys' banged-up secondary, as well as your thoughts on the Broncos potentially adding J.K. Dobbins into the running back room mix. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.